All right, good morning, class, and welcome today to our class. And today we will be doing lesson 17, which will be a writing lesson. And this can be found in your download textbook on page 26. All right, so remember last week I gave you an exercise to do, which you were supposed to do. Supposed to write a short paragraph within 100 words. Okay, the response was not that good. I only received 12 um, only 12 people answered that question, and they have submitted their work. Okay, and I have actually quoted one of the students writing. I will be sharing something later. So the reason for last week's lesson is actually a continuation for this week's lesson, today's lesson. All right. Okay, so we will be doing writing today. All right, can you all see this picture?
Yes.
Okay, what comes to your mind when you see this picture? What comes to your mind? Can you think of anything during your childhood, when you were in kindergarten or you were in the primary school? Have you all come across this picture, or what does this picture remind you of?
Racing,
Racing. Okay, between who?
Book story.
Pardon? Who is in a race?
rabbit and turtle,
Rabbit and a turtle. All right, so this is actually a tortoise and this is a rabbit. Okay, and another word for rabbit is hare. Okay, you can either call it hare or rabbit. Okay, so this is a very common story from, I think, your childhood. I'm sure when you were in kindergarten, in primary school, you would have heard this story. Either you would have listened, or you would have watched, or probably you would have written this story. Okay, so this is a very, very common story, the hare and the tortoise, or the tortoise and the hare. So this was about a race. All right. Okay, so today we are actually focusing on writing. So how to make our writing come to life, meaning when you read it, it's very lively. You will not want to stop. You want to continue reading. So how are you going to do, or have such kind of writings? Okay, so let's look at this slide. Stories, making it life-like. Stories contain description, action, and people. You can make the reader care more about what happens to your characters by making them come to life and seem real. Two ways to do this are by writing what they say or think, and by describing how they feel. All right, so this is how you will make your writing come alive. Okay, so now let's look at this. Okay, we are going to see a story. Okay, you are going to do a comparison between two types of writing. Okay, so this is the first one. Okay, so the hare and the tortoise. Okay, the hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow and said that it cannot get anywhere. The tortoise challenged the hare for a race, and the hare agreed to it while the fox consented to act as the judge. The race started, and the hare was soon far out of sight. And to make the tortoise feel very deeply how ridiculous it was for him to try a race with the hare, he lay down beside the course to take a nap until the tortoise should catch up. The tortoise, meanwhile, kept walking, and after a time passed the place where the hare was sleeping. But the hare slept on, and when at last he did wake up, the tortoise was near the goal. The hare now ran, but he could not overtake the tortoise in time. The race is not always to the swift. Okay, so this is one way of writing this story. Okay, this is a common story. So what we want to say, we have already said. Okay, I want you to compare this story with the next slide. Okay, this is the same story, but let's look at this again. Hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow. Do you ever get anywhere? He asked with a mocking laugh. Yes, replied the tortoise, and I get there sooner than you think. I'll run you a race and prove it. The hare was much amused at the idea of running a race excitedly with the tortoise. But for the fun of the thing, he agreed. So the fox, who had consented to act as judge, marked the distance and started the runners off. The hare was soon far out of sight, and to make the tortoise feel very deeply how ridiculous it was for him to try a race with a hare, he lay down beside the course to take a nap until the tortoise should catch up. The tortoise, meanwhile, kept walking slowly, and after a time passed the place where the hare was sleeping. But the hare slept on very peacefully, and when at last he did wake up, the tortoise was near the goal. Oh no, said the hare. The hare now ran his swiftest, but he could not overtake the tortoise in time. The race is not always to the swift. All right. Okay. Now you do a comparison. This or this. Which one you think is more lively? The first one or the second one? Which one you think is more lively and is more alive? Okay, can you all hear me? Hey, can you all
Yes,
see?
teacher, yes.
Okay, so you do a comparison. Is it the first one? This is the first one, the hare and the tortoise, or the second one? Which one you think is more lively and is like more alive? When you read it, like you can feel it. The
The
first.
second one.
Okay, why the second one? What makes you make it like feel that it's alive or it's more lively? Can somebody actually analyze this both and tell me what is so different? All right, you say the second one is more lively or makes it more alive, right? So what is the difference? Because when I read both end of the story, I still understand the same meaning. But what is so extra in the second one that you feel that is more lively?
The definition of the sentences,
The definition, you mean like what?
like the hair was seen far out of sight, and it's a different sentence.
Okay, okay. Anything else that make you think that this is more lively and makes the entire story more like like it like alive? Why is the difference? Let's look at the first one again. Okay, so this is the first story. Right? It's the same. The moral of the story at the end of it, what you hear, you see here, the ending, the beginning and the ending, and the next one is actually the same. There's no difference in the conclusion of the story. But why you think the second one is more lively besides the definition or whatsoever? Anything else? Come, please try. What you think is extra here? Can you see anything extra in the second one?
Has the dialogue, I think.
You see some dialogues, right?
Yeah.
You see? Okay, you see dialogues in the second one. Okay, let's look at the first one again. Are there any dialogues here?
No.
No dialogues, right? Okay. Okay, so when you look at the second one, okay, you see dialogues. And then the extras that you see is here you can see verbs added on with adverbs. Okay, verbs are action words, right? To add on to these verbs, they have used adverbs to describe the verbs. Adverbs are words that give further, it further enhances the action word. So, like this, the green ones, I've just selected some. Okay, the green ones are verbs and they have given some adverbs to further describe the verbs. Okay, when you see in the first one, you don't have that. Okay, you don't have those conversations. Okay, the conversations here are actually voice of the characters. Like just now, and I told you, you must make the people speak. So in this story, the people are the hare and the tortoise. They are the main characters here. So when you give like this, give them voice. Okay, you give them voice to speak, then this makes the story alive. So you see here, you have this open inverted comma, close inverted comma. Okay, so this will show that they are talking. You understand? Can you all see that? Do you all understand that?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's go further. So don't worry about this. Okay, this is actually a very short writing. Okay, so let's try to fill in these blanks with the verbs and adverbs. Okay, complete the sentences with a suitable verb and adverb to describe how the characters from different stories say something. Okay, number one, she tiptoed into the old dark house. Hello, is anyone here? She, what do you think the answer could be? So you have to choose one verb and then the next column will be the adverb. So, is anyone here? She? What do you think the answer could be? Okay, let's look at number two. Someone's coming to save us. The boy? What? Come, please try. What do you think the answer for number one? Okay, I give you an example for number one. Okay, she tiptoed. Tiptoed means you walk using your toes into the old dark house. Hello, is anyone here? She whispered what? Nervously. Okay, the house is very dark, so you may not want to scream because in case there is a ghost or whatsoever. All right, so she whispered nervously. Okay, let's look at number two. Someone's coming to save us. Can you see the exclamation mark there? So, what could the answer be? What verb and what adverb?
Short.
Ah, what is it? Okay, say again. Someone's coming to save us. What is your answer again?
Short.
Okay, shouted. The boy, what?
Excitedly.
Okay, the boy excitedly. Okay, number three. Leave me alone. She?
Scream.
Okay, let's check the answer. Screamed how? How did she scream?
Angrily.
Okay, let's check our answer. All right, angrily. Okay, number four. I'm going to win this race. He?
Told.
Told himself? Told himself how? Okay, choose one answer faster from the adverbs. You can try. Don't worry if you make a mistake. We are here to learn. Okay, I'm going to win this race. He told himself what?
Decisively.
Okay, let's check the answer. Okay, very good. Decisively. Okay, number five. This has been the best day of my life. She?
Sigh.
Okay, sighed how?
Happy.
Very good. Okay, sighed happily. Okay, so this is how when you use verbs with adverbs, it makes your writing more alive. Okay, okay, let's look at the next one. Now complete these sentences with a suitable adjective to describe how the characters from different stories feel, right? So adjectives are words that describe nouns. Okay, so Nick was dash. I can't believe it, he said. What do you think could answer number one be? Okay, please try. Okay, someone please try number one. Nick was what? The answers are above. Just pick your answer. Can you all hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, try your answers. Don't worry if you make a mistake. Okay, Nick
Teacher,
was.
the first one,
What is the first one?
the astonishes.
Astonished. I can't. Okay, let's check our answer. Okay, Nick was astonished. I can't believe it, he said. Okay, let's look at number two. Okay, Amy's hands shook with fear as she picked up the phone. She was.
Terrified.
Okay, let's check our answer. Terrified. Okay, thank goodness I found it at last, said Jan. I'm so.
Relief.
Very good. Okay, number four. He had been so determined to get to the top of the mountain, but now he was too.
Exhausted.
All right, very good. Exhausted to go any further. Okay, last one. She felt what? What? How did she feel? She felt.
Desperate.
All right, she felt desperate. There must be something I can do to help, she thought. Okay, so these are how you identify adjectives. All right. Okay, now let's look at this. This is task 3. Read this writing task and discuss the questions below it in class. You have seen this announcement in an English language magazine. We are looking for stories for our magazine. Your story must begin with this sentence. Anne knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. Your story must include an old woman, a surprise. Okay, this doesn't mean you must have the word a surprise. It could be a situation of surprise. All right. Okay, see, yeah. Write your story within 140 to 190 words. Okay, can you think of one or two different kinds of story you could write in answer to this question writing task? What feelings might the characters experience? All right, so if you look at your textbook, they have given an example of this writing. But before we go to that, okay, I am going to give you an example of a story based on an old woman and a surprise. Okay, so you see, this is how okay, so the first sentence here is given to you, right? Anne knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. So you must start that, and that is counted in the number of words. Okay, so I'm continuing that thing, and I'm going to say as she had recently moved from Malacca to Rawang and always admired the beautiful plants in that house. Soon, the squeaking door opened. An old woman with a walking stick came out of the door. The old woman could not speak as her mouth was tied with a cloth. Anne helped her remove the cloth and asked her, "What happened to you?" Okay, can you see this conversation here? Can you all see this, class?
Yes, teacher.
So this kind of conversation is you are giving voice to the speaker, to the characters in the story. It was a surprise to Anne that the old woman looked familiar to her. Later, she told Anne that she was kidnapped 10 years ago by some people at the Malacca wet market. Anne became speechless as she remembered her grandmother was also kidnapped at the same place. Then Anne screamed for joy, yay, because she found her lost grandmother. She quickly caught hold of her grandmother and rescued her from the kidnappers. Anne and her grandmother lodged a police report, and soon the kidnappers were arrested. Anne was so happy that she had been finally reunited with her grandmother. All right, so when you see this, see, this is straight to the point, and okay, so this is how you write a short writing based on a sentence that has been given to you. So within 140 to 190 words. All right. Okay. So now let's see the example given in the textbook. Okay. This is about 171 words. Okay. So this is the example that was that you can find in your textbook. Read the story that was written in answer to the question in 3 and answer the questions below. Okay, so let's look at this. Anne knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. She had recently moved from America to the small village and had often admired the house's beautiful rose garden. She knocked again nervously. There was still no answer, but a wonderful, sweet smell of cooking was coming from the kitchen. Someone must be here. Okay, this is the voice. Okay, someone must be here, she thought hopefully. Just then, she heard a soft cry. Help me, please. See, there's another voice here. She ran to the back of the house and pushed her way through the back door in panic. An old lady was lying on the kitchen floor. I fell over and I think my ankle's broken, she explained weakly. Okay, see, there's another voice here. The grandmother is talking. After calling for an ambulance, Anne comforted her. As she stroked the old lady's soft white hair, she was astonished to see a birthmark on her neck. It was exactly the same shape as hers. Much later, they found out that the old lady was actually her great aunt Elizabeth. After that, Anne spent many happy evenings in the house listening to old family stories and eating delicious cake. All right, so this is another way of writing, but with the same beginning. Okay, so let's look at our questions. Does the writer explain the situation in the given sentence? Does the writer here explain or not? What is happening in the situation? Do they actually explain the situation? Where or what? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right, it is yes. Okay, does the writer include both points asked for in the task?
Yes.
All right, okay, did they ask? Okay, next one. How many different feelings does Anne experience in the model story? Okay, circle any words or phrases that show us the how she feels. Okay, so let's see. For example, the first one. Okay, she was determined. Okay, let's look at more. Okay, she was nervous. These are all her feelings. Okay, she was, okay, hopefully. She's very hopeful. Okay, she was panicked. Okay, she was astonished. And she was happy. So how many altogether?
6.
All right, there were 6. Okay, so let's look at this language bank. Okay, so these are some words or phrases that you can use when you write. The next day, as or while, just then, suddenly, after that, afterwards, much later. Okay, feelings, astonished, bravely. Okay, calm or calmly, cheerful, cheerfully. Okay, confident, confidently, confused, decisive, decisively, desperate, desperately, excited, excitedly, exhausted, frustrated, miserable, relieved, scared. Okay, way of speaking or thinking. Okay, argue, complain, criticize, grumble, scream or shout, sigh, warn, whisper, wonder. Okay, then senses. Okay, senses are how you sense something. Okay, you see or notice or observe. You can hear or can hear, smell, taste, touch, feel, salty, sweet, sour, bitter, the heat of the sun, the cool shade, a soft breeze, raindrops. Okay, so these are your senses, how you feel. You touch, you hear, you smell. Remember your last week's lesson, I asked you to write something about the senses, right? Okay, so that is why I asked you to write. So later you will see. Okay, so now let's look at this. Okay, so this is the same picture that I gave you last week. Okay, another way to bring your story to life is to use some of the 5 senses. Example, sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste and touch. Okay, in your description, underline examples of this in the model story, okay, that we are not doing. Okay, so now let's look at this. Now, imagine you are on a beach in the summer with a partner, discuss ideas for each of the 5 senses. Okay, so this is actually very important, how you write. Okay, so now you are going to do a comparison based on how you have written. For the 12 of you who wrote, so this will be very helpful for you. So now you will know when you compare your work. I have read all of your essays, the 12 of you who submitted. All right, so when you do a comparison now or when you write again, you will actually see how you can improve. Okay, okay, so like this. Okay, you must have the hearing, sight, smell, touch, taste and touch. So when you write your stories, what must you do? How you have to plan your story? First one, in paragraph 1, setting the scene and explaining the given sentence. A sentence will be given to you, so you have to set the scene. Okay, then paragraph 2 and paragraph 3, you talk about the action and description, what you did, how, what, I mean, you talk about, like the events here, what is happening in the picture. Okay, and then paragraph 4 is you are already ending and you have to close. All right. Okay. See, this is actually very important. This little box here, this download box. Okay. Make sure you include all points asked for in the task. Your story will be more lifelike and interesting if you describe how your characters feel. Okay, you must experience, people must hear, oh, Ali felt so excited. Okay, you must have that kind of the feel. Okay, give them something to say or think. All right, see, just now I told you must have conversations, and then the conversation where you put the open and close inverted commas can also be a thought. How nice if I can have an ice cream now. You do like as though you are talking, but you can say Ali thought, or thought Ali. Okay, thought means you are thinking. Thinking is also a conversation. Okay, then use some of the 5 senses in your description. Okay, so you can add the senses as well. All right. Okay, so now let's look at this. Okay, from the 12 who submitted, I have chosen 1 just for example. All right, I don't want to reveal the name of the student. Okay, so this is one of the students who submitted. Okay, okay, let's look at the sample by a student. It was a beautiful evening. My friends and I had so much fun on the beach. It were amazing and wonderful. The cloud was almost white to transparent. The ocean was clear, and some little fish that I can't name was swimming. And the air was fresh. Also, the coconut tree is big enough to shade us. So we decided to place our things under the tree. Except me and my friends, there was also a family there. The father was playing with their child, and the mother was lying on the straw mat and reading a book. After a small talk, the father let his child play with us, and he went back and read a book with his wife. To be honest, we had a lot of fun. We built the sandcastle, we dabbled in the sea, and we played beach volleyball too. But the child looked like wanted to stay with his parents more than playing with us. So we took him back and was invited to have a nice lunch with them. We accepted. The lunch wasn't very sumptuous and rich. It was just some sandwiches and ham with mayonnaise. Maybe we were too hungry. It was delicious at that time. It was almost 4 p.m. after having lunch, and they must go back. We said goodbye and continued to play on the beach until 6 p.m. I never saw something like this before in my life. What a beautiful sunset. Okay? Okay, when you see this, what is lacking in this sample? Okay, can someone tell me what is lacking in this sample? Or what can you add? Can you all hear me, class? Can you all hear me?
Yes, teacher.
All right. Okay. What is not enough here or what is missing here? How can you improve this script? What can you add? I can see senses. Okay. I've read some senses here. What else can you add? Based on what I just explained to you before this slide, what else can you add to make this more lively or come to life?
Conversation.
Very good. You can actually add conversations. Okay. So when you add conversations, this text will become more lively to read. Okay. This is actually a very good writing. Of course, there's some mistakes here. Okay. There are some minute mistakes and all that. But if you add on some lines where they are speaking, you give them some voice to what they say, it will make it more lively. All right. So now let's look at this. Okay, I've come up with an example. So let's look at my example. Okay, so this is the same question I gave you all to do last week. All right. Okay, it was a beautiful evening. My friends and I had so much of fun in the beach. We packed a lot of food and drinks for our picnic at the Morit beach. Joe's mom prepared the best nasi lemak, which was so tasty and fragrant. After having our meals, Joe said, "Let's take a cool dip." So we dipped ourselves in the cool water. Although it was so hot, the sea breeze was so refreshing and soothing for our ears. There were many people in the beach who have come for a picnic with their families. Rina and Roy built sand castles by shaping them with their hands, while Joe, Nani, Ali, and I played with a ball. Meanwhile, Rita had her beauty sleep under the shady umbrella. Much later, we were very exhausted and decided to go back. Nani said, "Let's pack up, guys." Therefore, we made sure we cleared our picnic spot and left for home cheerfully. It was truly a memorable picnic. Okay, so I tried to have to when I wrote this, I tried to add all the elements needed. including the conversation. Okay, you see the conversation here? I have put two conversations here. I've given voice to the speaker, and I've also put senses. Okay, they could hear, okay, they could play, they could touch the sandcastle, right? They were building the sandcastles using their touch, their hands. Okay, they could hear the sea breeze. Okay, so when you write something like this, when you add this kind of elements, what happens here is your writing becomes more alive. Okay, it becomes lively and alive. Okay, you see that? Can you all see that, class?
Yes, teacher.
All right, very good. Okay, so now let's look at this. Okay, look at exercise 7. Read this writing task and use the plan and the language bank to help you write your story. When you have finished your story, check your work carefully. Okay, you have seen this announcement in English language magazine for young people. Can you write a story for our new magazine series? Your story must begin with this sentence. As Mark was about to throw away the old bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper inside it. Okay, your story must include a message or a map and a surprise. Okay, so this is how you write. So this is actually going to be your task today, but before you do your own, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, you see here. As Mark was about to throw away the old bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper in it. What paper is this? You see, a conversation. He asked. To his surprise, it was a rescue message in the bottle. Mark read the message and realized that someone is in danger and has sent this message in the bottle. The message read as, see another voice here. Dear reader, I'm stuck at the waterfall behind the rock. Please rescue me. Okay. Moments after that, Mark bravely walked towards the waterfalls to check on the message sender. He looked around and noticed a man waving behind the waterfalls. The man was drenched and shouted to get Mark's attention. Later, Mark noticed that the voice of that person sounded familiar. When he went near, he realized that it was his own Uncle John. Mark was so happy to rescue his uncle. All right, so you see, I have added on most of the elements here. Okay, you have conversation, you have the surprise, you have the message. Okay, that is the question asking you to come up with you must have a message and a surprise. Okay, I've added that. I've had conversations. Okay, and then I also have feelings here because he was surprised, he was happy. All right, so this is how you write. So when you write something like this is a very short writing because it's only 143 words. But in 143 words, I'm able to convey the message and keep the reader's attention span lively to actually understand the storyline. All right, you understand? Do you all understand?
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
teacher.
all right. So your task today. Okay, so this is how I have followed. Okay, setting the scene and explaining the given sentence, action and description, and the ending. All right. Okay, so your task today will be the same exercise. Okay, you are to continue writing with this statement here, this sentence. As Mark was about to throw away the bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper inside it. Okay, so what you do is you start with this. You can follow my example. Okay, you can follow my example and you can write something like this. For very weak students, if you think you really cannot write, don't be so worried or worked up. You just try to change the conversation, the ones that in purple. All right, you can just change the writing in purple to your own conversation. Maybe you don't want to say, what is this paper? Then he said, maybe you can change it. Wow, I think there's a message for me. Maybe you can just change like that. Okay, it's up to you. You can probably come up with your own conversation. For those of you who can write, please, you do not need to copy my example, but you can write on your own. Understand? Do you all understand?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So please have courtesy when you write in, in exams and all that. You don't talk bad about people. All right. Be thoughtful. Okay. And you must have courtesy when you write. All right. Okay. So thank you for joining today's class. And later I will forward the work to your Telegram group.